Okay, let's talk about that super frustrating gap between what you want to do and what you actually do. You know that struggle? We're going to look at it in a whole new way today. See, it's not about being flawed as a person, it's something else entirely. And it all kicks off with this really weird, contradictory feeling. Have you ever felt like that? Like you're being pulled in two directions at once? You've got these massive, crystal clear dreams, right? You can picture that focused, successful you just crushing it. But then, when it's go time, you just stop. It feels like your mind is sprinting a marathon, but your body is stuck in cement. Well, there's actually a name for that feeling. We're calling it ambitious paralysis. And it's this really painful contradiction that, believe it or not, often hits the most capable and ambitious people out there. And this really breaks it down, doesn't it? On one side, you've got your dreams, that disciplined, focused life you know is in you. And then there's reality, hesitating, delaying things, just scrolling. And that gap between the two, that's where all the frustration and guilt lives. Yeah, this quote just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures that feeling. It's not that you don't want it. No, it's the total opposite. You want it so badly, but it feels like there's some invisible wall holding you back, creating all this internal static. Okay, so here is the most important thing I want you to hear today. If this is resonating with you, there is absolutely nothing wrong with you. You are not lazy. You do not lack willpower. What you're dealing with is a learned pattern, one that's been wired into your brain for a very specific and honestly pretty surprising reason. So, to really get this, we have to pull back the curtain and look at what your brain is actually designed for. Because once you understand its number one priority, I promise you, everything else is going to click into place. So here's the deal. Your brain's primary job is not to make you successful. Its primary job is to keep you safe. And for your brain, safety means one thing: comfort, predictability, avoiding anything that looks like a risk. And those big, exciting dreams of yours, well, with all their uncertainty and potential for failure, they look like a 5-alarm fire to your brain. And this is exactly how that pattern gets wired in, creating this loop. It all starts with a trigger, right? Let's say it's a task that's tied to one of your big goals. Your brain immediately sounds the alarm. Risk, risk. And then it cleverly suggests something easier, something comfortable. You know, like, hey, why don't you just check your phone for a minute? And the moment you do it, boom, you get a little hit of dopamine. A tiny reward for choosing safety. And when you run that loop over and over and over again, you're literally training your brain. It's not even about motivation anymore. It becomes a conditioned response. You've taught your brain that effort feels like discomfort, and avoiding that effort, well, that feels like a sweet, sweet relief. But, there's actually another layer to this whole thing. It gets even deeper. It's not just about ducking discomfort. It's also about protecting something incredibly precious to you, your identity, and the beautiful, shiny idea of what you could become. See, lurking just under the surface are all these quiet little fears. Things like, what if people judge me? What if I fail? What if I can't live up to my own expectations? The second you have big dreams, you suddenly have something to lose. The moment you truly go for it, you're putting yourself out there, open to judgment, and the very real chance that it might not work out perfectly. And this right here is your brain's genius protective strategy. As long as it can keep you in that planning stage, the I'll start on Monday phase, it thinks it's doing you a huge favor. You get to keep that perfect, untouchable dream of success, all without ever having to risk the messy, unpredictable reality of actually trying. It feels safe in that little bubble of potential, but honestly, it's a trap. Because a life lived on what if and someday eventually just curdles into frustration and self-doubt. You know you're capable of so much more. And when that potential just sits there unused, it just fuels that awful feeling that something's wrong with you. Okay, so how in the world do we break out of this loop? The good news is, the way out isn't about waiting for some magical lightning bolt of motivation to strike. It's about something way, way more practical. First things first, we have got to stop waiting for motivation. Motivation is like a flaky friend. It shows up when it feels like it, and you can't count on it. The real hero of this story is discipline. And let's be clear, discipline isn't about feeling amazing all the time. It's about showing up, plain and simple, especially when it's the last thing you want to do. Now, if you remember one thing from this whole explainer, let it be this. You cannot think your way out of this pattern. It doesn't work. You have to act your way out. Action is the language your brain understands. Even the tiniest little action starts to teach it a new way of being. So what's the game plan? You start ridiculously small. The goal is just to fly under your brain's radar, to lower its resistance. Then, and this is key, you act despite how you feel, not because of it. We're not aiming for perfection here, not at all. We're aiming for consistency. Because every time you do that, you're teaching your brain a new lesson. Hey, this discomfort, it's not a threat. And this effort, it actually leads somewhere good. And what happens when you keep this up? Something really profound starts to shift. It's not just about your habits changing. It's about who you believe you are. Slowly but surely, you stop thinking of yourself as a procrastinator. Instead, you start seeing yourself as someone who takes action. And that identity shift, it's like a superpower. Because once you believe that about yourself, your actions just naturally start to fall in line. And those things that used to feel so impossibly hard, they just start to feel normal. So as you move forward, just keep these things in mind. Consistency is what builds momentum. You are absolutely going to have setbacks. Everyone does. Real progress is just about getting back up without beating yourself up. That's where self-compassion comes in. It's crucial. And please, stop waiting to feel ready. Readiness isn't something you wait for, it's something you build, one small action at a time. Which brings us back to this really powerful idea. Think about it. All that time you might have spent feeling guilty or calling yourself lazy, you weren't lazy. You were just protecting yourself. You were caught in a survival pattern that you didn't even know it was running, and your brain was just trying to keep you safe in the only way it knew how. So now that you can see the pattern, you have the power to make a different choice. Let's forget about the huge, overwhelming plan for just a second. What is one small, tiny, maybe even laughably easy step you can take right now, today, to start rewiring your brain and begin moving towards the life you actually want?